Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys in California. Before I begin, give all praise to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray the Most High blesses this lesson this evening. Gives us more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past in order to understand events that are currently happening on the earth. So we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, we're going to get into some more esoteric, hidden information today. Going to get some more confirmation that the Most High puts up kingdoms and brings them down. And the Most High is bringing down this Babylonian system, and it was written in the stars. We're going to be looking at this book. I've brought out before that we talked about how something huge was going to be happening with Russia from that eclipse from last December. And you're going to see that these celestial events, these locations where these planets are, make a huge effect, have a huge effect on the events that happen down here. You're going to get a lot of examples of that today. I'm not going to read all of them. I'm going to post them so you can kind of check them out yourself and read it. But what you're going to see is that this is nothing new. What you're seeing today has been, there's precedence for it. There's precedence because this has happened many, many times where certain events, are foretold in the stars and then they play out down here. As above, so below. So, this whole notion of, free will that these Constantine Christians have been pushing is a bunch of garbage. The Most High has shown you that He's the one that's in control of the rise and falling of kingdoms. Some rise, some fall, but the Most High is in control of all of these events. They like to make you think that everything is just random. And they made you guys think, many of you guys, you Americans here and people in Britain and all these other countries, that you guys have stolen the lands from the Israelites and you've erased us from history books. But you thought you were going to be able to do this forever. You thought that you guys were going to be Psalms 83, all confederate against the Most High's chosen people, and you were going to be able to keep us down forever. But see, your kingdom and your rulership has an expiration date, and that expiration date was written in the stars. Most High's been, working us up and preparing us for these events that are now transpiring daily. My brother the 12 just sent me a text talking about how the congressional leaders have reached a bipartisan deal early Wednesday to provide $13.6 billion to help Ukraine and European allies amid Europe's worst refugee crisis since World War II. They sure are sending a whole lot of resources across the pond, kind of like they know a little something. Kind of like they know that they're going to need a place to go. That staying put isn't necessarily going to be an option. So you see the Most High is working. I also heard that, yesterday they had some deal about how the Poland was going to just give all of their planes or MiGs to, they're going to send them all over to Germany. And then the United States could go ahead and give them to the Ukraine. They made an report like it was a done deal yesterday. And then this morning, you hear how the United States says, we didn't accept that. We don't want that. Someone's sounding looking real fugazi right now. Because it seems like, Russia's already telling y'all, hey, don't do this. If you do this, this is what's going to happen. And you can see they're trying their best not to engage. But ultimately, the Most High is going to make everyone engage. He's going to make everyone engage because those are the times that we're in. So a lot of these countries don't want to. They know that their time is coming to an end. So they're trying to avoid these conflicts. See, unlike the rest of the world, many of these people know that, these stars are already telling what their future is. It's not about free will and you have a free will for this and a free will for that, and you're going to be able to just, be a strong nation forever. A lot of these people, a lot of these Americans and these, people in these European countries thought, they're going to be able to take these lands and hold them forever. And the Most High is letting them know. He's already made the announcement that your reign and your rulership has been canceled. And now the Most High is going to make you fight and make you destroy each other. And y'all don't want that. So you guys are trying to avoid these conflicts as best you can. Puffing your chest out, acting like you're going to do this and do that. You got all these plans, but you guys know that your blessings have been taken away. You don't have that power like you used to. You don't have that swag. You don't have that sway like you used to. Might as well go ahead and let the people know. Might as well let them know. You know what? Our blessing's gone. The Most High is he's turned back to his people. These people that we've had in derision, we've had at the bottom, that we haven't given justice to. Those are the true people of the Most High. Those are the ones you need to be listening to now. Those are the ones you need to be cleaving to right now. If you want any kind of mercy, you need to go and cleave to the Most High's chosen people. The true chosen people. That's what y'all should be telling the people. But you won't, because it's not in you to tell the truth. Let me check this one out real quick. The Kabbalah of Numbers, Part 2. Okay? Now, I'm just going to leave this part. So you guys can read that part on your own. But I just want to show you all a different the next section here. Page 121, talking about England. Okay? The middle right there. It says, elsewhere, it will be seen that the sign of the zodiac ruling England is Aries. Okay? Governed by Mars and responding to the vibrations of the number 9 and the color red. The popular expression, the all red, refers very aptly to the British. By some play of human faculty, this has been sensed and identified with all that is British, and accordingly, we find our atlas showing the empire extending across the 2 hemispheres, all red. Therefore, we may expect that Mars stirs up strife in various countries as it passes through the signs of the zodiac, excuse me, governing them, and that its conjunction with Saturn in the sign ruling a country is of sinister import. We find it so, in fact. Thus, there was a conjunction of Saturn and Mars in Aries in 1879, and there followed the terrible Afghan and Zulu wars. Passing into Taurus, ruling Ireland, the planets produced the agrarian outrages in Ireland. In 1883, the conjunction fell in Gemini, ruling Lower Egypt, and was at once followed by the Sudan War and the tragedy of Khartoum. We might trace the whole circle of the zodiac. Did space permit? Until we come to the conjunction of these planets in Aquarius, ruling Russia in 1904, and again in 1905, which brought about the defeat of Russia by the Japanese and the outburst of popular feeling, which culminated in the disgraceful tragedy of Red Sunday. And finally in Pisces, which brought Portugal into startling prominence by the assassination of the king and crown prince, and the revolution which followed it. So as you can see, as these stars are moving through the zodiac, it's having effects here on the earth. And would that be any different now? Absolutely not. So you're starting to see how Pluto, Hades, has come back over America. And it signifies, as you saw the video yesterday, it had many words. It had many definitions. But we know it's also talking about corpses and reanimation, death and life, death to one system, life to another. So you can't just ignore these signs in the sky, even though the churches have gone out of their way to make sure that you did. Don't look at the stars. That's the devil, as if somehow the devil has control over these events. That again is taking away the power of the Most High and attributing it to Satan, as if somehow he's co-equal in rulership. He's just another created being, okay, that has been set up and to do the will of the Father on the left-hand side. Okay? So thus we come to 1909, 1910, and 1910, and the destructive socialist policy of the Lloyd George clique, the dock and coal strikes, the war scare of 1912, and the suffragette outrages. From 1879 to 1909 is a period of 30 years, which is approximately the period of this conjunction as regards any part of the zodiac. If we go back 30 years from 1879, check this part out, we come to 1849, the Sheik War. A second conjunction followed in 1851 and soon followed by the Russian War. Its immediate effect was the coup d'etat of Louis Napoleon and the jeopardizing of British interests by his ambitions. Then we go back 30 years and find Saturn and Mars again in Aries in the year 1821, which was a period of the Cato Street conspiracy and the suicide of Lord Londonderry, okay, then Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. So that whether we trace this combination of Mars and Saturn 9 plus 8 to the successive signs at intervals of 2 years or from the one conjunction to the next in the same sign at intervals of 30 years, we find its effects disturbing and destructive. So you get these, signs repeating themselves, and you start seeing these disturbing and destructive events. So this is just to show you that the stars, these planets, do have a very, consistent effect on the events here on the earth. There's another part. Check this part out. But we may take the cycle of 265 years, which admits of many minor cycles, and we find the same planets conjoined in exactly the same part of the zodiac. Thus, from the epoch 1909-1910, it brings us to 1644 and the overthrow of the royalists at Marston Moor. Then from 1644, we take the cycle again and come to 1379 and the rebellion under Wat Tyler. From that date, we go back to 1114 when England was disturbed by the wars waged by Henry I against Robert of Bellem and France. Going a further cycle back to 1849, we come to the Danish invasion during the reign of Egbert. Prior to this epoch, history becomes obscure in regard to British affairs. Yeah, because they weren't in control at that time. That would have been our people around that, I think, around that time. British affairs, so we may leave it. The cycle has been traced in regard to other countries ruled by other signs than Aries. And undoubtedly, we have complete evidence of a connected periodicity of events due to the combined action of these two major planets. So like I said, you got, remember in the Bible, it talks about how they have these spirits, demons that are controlling certain groups, certain areas, things like that. I can go back to these stars as well. And how they control, certain people, certain lands and things, and they have certain influences. That's all part of this as well. Talk about all these things in the spirit world, and they're getting their signs, they're getting their go signs, the times of certain people being raised up, brought down, but it's all being shown in the stars. Huge events, things like that. And that's mainly the main point of this video today, is just kind of give you some more examples of how, these events aren't just random, but they are controlled. Okay. It says conjunctions of Saturn and Jupiter lead to great mutations, okay, in those countries ruled by the signs in which the conjunctions fall. The conjunctions differ from those of Mars and Saturn in this respect. Okay, and you guys can read that part on your own. Talk about that right there. Let's see here. Excuse me. So talk about these mutations are eventually of good effect and always lead to a beneficial legislation and the establishment of a more solid constitution. So kind of just showing some things that are going on right here. I'm just leaving it here for you guys to read. Took quite a few pictures on that one. Okay. Another one I wanted to share with you guys. That was part 2. It's like there's 2 books. This is part 1. The Kabbalah of Numbers, part 1. Handbook of Interpretation. It's only a couple of pages here. Okay, let's see here. What's out here in the middle? In a universe where everything is in a state of flux, where the status quo is an unstable equilibrium, we find that reaction is the law. For every rise, there is a fall. For every flow, an ebb. For every perihelion, an aphelion. For every flood, a drought. The experience is universal, and so fully recognized by the man in the street as to have given rise to the following jingle. Okay? And this is so true, okay? To every rise, a fall. And that's what you're seeing right now. You're seeing the fall of this wicked Babylonian system. But see, the vast majority of the people are talking about the new world order and how they're going to come back and reestablish themselves. Like I said, that's not even written. That doesn't even make any sense. The new world order was the old world order. They've been in charge. The Most High did not come to sweep off everyone else and then leave them in charge. He's bringing down one system and bringing up a new one. And remember, there's only 2 churches. There's only 2 groups of people. Ones that serve the priesthood of Mahan and ones that serve the Most High. If the Most High is bringing down the priesthood of Mahan, then that would make sense that he's bringing up his people. He's reestablishing his people at the end. And that's what you're seeing going on right now. This is why so few of these people who are talking about prophecy are getting it right, because they make it seem as if now the evil people are coming into power. That's what happens when you have forgotten, your history, or you ignore it. You have amnesia, another one of those aspects of Pluto. You have amnesia to your history. You have amnesia to your, horrible, heinous history. And that's why you don't think you need to pay for anything. You want to, bring up the faults of others, all the while you ignore your own. And that's why you get prophecy wrong. I'm waiting to see any of these people who are trying to talk about prophecy discuss the events of what the Americans have done since they've gotten here, what the Europeans have done, what the Spaniards have done as soon as they got here, and how that was okay, and how they're never going to have to pay for that. I mean, I'd like to see how they're going to jump through those hoops and explain that. But see, they don't. They just try to ignore it. They have amnesia conveniently. They want to remember the faults of everyone else, but they have amnesia about their own. Just like these priests, people be listening to them talk about how godly they are, but they have amnesia to all of the horrible and heinous things that they have done and continue to do, and the church covers for them. And and they hold themselves up in these moral high grounds. And the only way they can do that is to ignore their history. You got all these people talking about, oh, we're going to make it through these rough times. You get your preps ready so that you're ready. You got your few years of preps ready so that whenever, after everything's destroyed, you can come back out and you're going to be right on top. But you're just as wicked as the people who have amnesia. Because you say how much you love your country, but then you don't talk about the history. You don't talk about the horrible things that they've done. And you don't talk about how, if they're going to have to pay for that, how are they going to atone for those sins? Check this out. Now, talking about let's see here. The experience is universal and so fully recognized by the man in the street as to have given rise to the following jingle, which probably had its origin with some unfortunate speculator on the stock exchange. After the rise, the fall. After the boom, the slump. After the fizz and the big cigar, the cigarette and the hump. It expresses a recognition of the law of action and reaction, which is responsible for the stability of the universe. We have already found that 8 equals privation. We have connoted death, decay, ruin, injury, maiming with this unfortunate number. It has been ascribed to Saturn, the planet whose mass cord of vibration is most inimical to us of the Earth. Okay, sphere whose number is 4, materiality, and our satellite, the Moon, whose number are 7, in crescent and 2 decrescent. Let us trace this influence in terms of cosmical law. The planet Saturn was in the sign Sagittarius in the year 1898. For many centuries prior to this date, it had been known by observation that the sign of the zodiac governed Spain. Not that any disrespect was intended to the king, or even to Don Caesar de Bazan, but that the fortunes of that country were found to answer to the affections of that sign by the successive incursions of the various planets, as was noticed by Kepler, who found it not beneath him to confess that a most unfailing experience of the course of human events in harmony with the changes occurring in the heavens has instructed and compelled my unwilling belief. In 1898, therefore, we find Spain, in strict agreement with this dictum, suddenly plunged into a most unexpected and unfortunate war with the United States of America. Spanish fours went down with a run on the stock exchange, and thousands of Spanish holders of the government stock were ruined. Spain lost her possessions in the West Indies and the Philippines, and a heavy indemnity was imposed when finally it capitulated. Altogether, some 100,000 men were killed during the hostilities. It was a black hour for Spain indeed. Since then, the Spanish Main has had a new meaning, for it has been officially ascertained by the salving of the American war vessel that it was not blown up by any Spaniard, but exploded from its own magazines. An explosion taking place from within and not outside of the vessel. There was therefore no adequate casus belli, and if we could eliminate Saturn and the number 8 from the sign Sagittarius in the year 1898, 26 would be 8. Okay, we should find no reason to suspect that there might be one. Yet it is significant that the present writer specifically predicted this great struggle between America and Spain. The concomitant rise in the price of wheat, the loss of life and territory sustained by Spain, and the reconstruction of its government stock in the following year. The Russo-Japanese War took place in 1905 and was similarly attended by the transit of Saturn through Russia's ruling sign, Aquarius. The prediction of its defeat was an easy matter to those instructed in natural symbolism, and the revolution, also specifically predicted, was a result of Saturn and Mars being conjoined in Aquarius. You guys can check the rest out on your own, okay? So I just wanted to share some examples just to show you that these signs are no joke. These signs are, signs from the Most High, letting you know of events that are coming to pass down here on the earth. So it confirms what we're seeing with Pluto. 22222. And you see that huge event and how everything started with the war then. And there's no going back. There's no going back to your blessing. Your blessing is over with. The Most High made that announcement. And now, like I said, it's time to face reality. That's why you're starting to see these pastors losing their minds because, people are waking up, bringing out this truth, and they can't contend with it. And that's the way that it is. The Most High is in charge, and the Most High has made his proclamation. Your rulership, your blessing is over. And the Most High has turned his face back to his people, and he's reviving the bones in the valley of dry bones once again. All praise is the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who was the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.